I'm Sarah.
And I'm Georgie.
And welcome back to the Hope & Co YouTube channel. So George, where have we been for the last 4 years?
Well, last time you probably tuned into this channel, if you have found us recently, you will have seen our last upload was I think 4 years ago. So we have been on a bit of a creative journey since then. We were in full production of ceramics last time you saw us. We had I think upwards of 40 stockists around Australia, and we were primarily just making ceramics. That was all we were really doing at that time. I had just started a photography business, so I was balancing that. I think that you were painting as well a bit at that time.
So 4 years ago, we were very focused on our ceramics, and that's pretty much what you saw on our channel, but we were also very mindful that we had other creative talents and desires, and I paint, Georgie is a photographer, and for the last 4 years, we've had a pretty sort of challenging time in that you can go to a podcast that Georgie and I have just shared on the Courageous Creatives podcast to hear the full story, so we won't go into it here. But essentially we had to really rethink what we were doing in our creative space, and it led to us redesigning our creative studio and finding our why again, about why we want to be creatives and multi-creatives at that, and how we balance that.
Absolutely. It was definitely, I think, quite a process of realizing the way that we were doing business in the pandemic wasn't ultimately sustainable outside of that, because all we could do during the pandemic was work. So we developed quite a serious work ethic making ceramics to a ludicrous degree, because we still even have some stock spare from back then. It was a pretty intense period, and I think we came out of that space both realizing that there were other things that we wanted to sort of nurture and pursue once the borders opened and everything. I mean, obviously, again, if you go back to any of the older videos, you'll notice Mum talking about how much she wanted to travel during the pandemic.
I'm a real travel nut, and that is a real thing, and travel's really important to me, both for inspiration and just experience and life experience. When you live a long way away from anywhere in Australia, you know, European travel is not only exciting, it's exhausting, but it's exciting. But because we live so far away, we need to get out there and we need to see other parts of the world. And it makes me realise that when we're overseas and you can just hop on a flight from Bergen in Norway to Edinburgh and it's an hour and 25 minutes. That's like us flying from Melbourne to Sydney. And, you know, in Europe, you get to fly from country to country. So that became a really big thing for us all actually, didn't it? And I think it's an extremely important phase for us to have gone through after being locked down for so long in Australia. It was horrendous. That I think that when we came back, we actually felt really refreshed finally to start something new.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that obviously I'm like unintentionally showing my hand. Obviously one of the biggest things that changed in the last 4 years was that I grew up a bit more and got married. And my husband is the producer of this channel. So he and I went into photography, videography full-time as well. So we went into the wedding sector, whole story for another day on another channel probably. We worked quite intensely in that space as well. We catapulted a very successful business, but we were incredibly burnt out by the end of 2023, because it was almost like the moment the borders opened in 2023. We did nothing but work in a very different capacity, and we traveled a huge amount. I think we were joking at one point about how we were packing our bags and on the road every 2 weeks, and that whole travel influencer YouTuber lifestyle that I had always idolized, and especially idolized during the pandemic, became our reality in 2023. And by the end of that year, I was exhausted, I think, and obviously my husband was too. We got into 2024, we were also still exhausted. We got married that year, so there was a lot going on. And that was the point probably midway through where we started to have these talks again about what we were going to do with Hope & Co, because you had got the travel bug out of your system. Not quite, but like
it's still there.
It's always there, but as in like we had got that sort of 2023 was really just this absolutely enormous, like what were all of the things that we couldn't do in the pandemic that we now want to do. And we just went and did all the things and got to that point, towards the end of 2024, where we thought, you know, we've ticked a few things off now. how can we come back into this business so it's not left on the shelf, so to speak, and sort of have a new evolved version of that business?
Well, we've kind of pissed off the year of the snake now. So in the year of the fire horse, 2026, we're primed for bringing you lots of content, and the aim of this this particular studio exchange, we're going to call it, each week we're going to bring you an episode and bring you into our studio, and it might be just a chat talking about studio practice. It'll be talking about how we operating each particular week. It might be bringing you something informative, or it might just be a little bit more philosophical about our discussions about being creatives and how our husbands put up with that. We love being here again, and we just wanted to bring you into our space. And if you're from overseas, and we have quite a few subscribers from the States especially, this is going to be interesting for you because we're in this little pocket of Australia right down the south, and it might be worthwhile showing you exactly where we are on a map. We're in about 3 hours from a capital city, Melbourne, west of Melbourne, and about 5 hours east of Adelaide. But we're right down the south, which is not an area that people generally find they know from overseas. You know, you would normally see the Sydney Harbour Bridge, you would see maybe the beaches in Queensland, but we're in prime farmland, sheep and beef country, and we've got a really creative little scene here, which is fantastic.
Yes, we're a very creative hub. We love celebrating that. You may very well see some of the other creatives in our world have sort of guest appearances maybe pop up.
Yeah, pop up for coffee, or tea or whatever. And what are we drinking today?
Oh, I'm just having a straight old peppermint tea.
I've got a golden latte. I'm actually a coffee girl, so you'll mostly see me with coffee, but I've already had 2 shots already. Yeah. And that makes me a little bit hyper, so I thought I'd calm myself down for the film.
If you do want to join in, like, on these creative chats with us, we're going to have a buy us a coffee in the description below, so you can literally get that feeling of buying us a coffee and having coffee and a chat with us, to just a little way to support the channel if you love what we're doing, and if you just want to have a coffee with us. But we are ultimately planning to have a blend, not just of these sit down chats with you and talking about creative business and what's going on, but we're also going to have a few more studio vlogs, which will also feature things that we're working on in the studio. So I suppose one of the things that I didn't go into full depth about before is the aspect of, so obviously Mum is right into the painting at the moment. We are making some ceramics together. That end of the studio has just been set up. In the first vlog, we're going to show you the BTS of setting up this studio again. We've got some archive footage over the last couple of years. The long and short of it, actually, that we forgot to mention is that we actually moved the whole studio a few years ago, back in that 2023 era I talked about. We moved the whole studio, and then about 1.5 years ago, we moved the whole studio back again. So,
you know, we're gluttons for punishment, clearly. But at the time, we actually sold our farm, and the studio that we're now in became pretty much a storage facility for dead dishwashers and fridges for a while.
Motorbike, I think, was in here as well.
Yeah, I think a motorbike was in here. So, and everything just felt dirty and disgusting. And we decided, you know, every time we walked in here, it just felt really sad. And it took a lot to turn that energy around, a lot of hours, you know, painting this floor, painting, you know, all sorts of stuff, getting stuff. We're not quite finished. We're going to repaint the outside of the studio again as well.
So you get to see any of that as well. Any things that are sort of like little renovations or bits and pieces. If you've been around the channel before and you've seen our content before, I think there was quite a formula to that content, especially the vlogs. In this case, we're going to blend a little bit more of our creative lives into what you see here, because the one conclusion that we've come to with Hope & Co. since we last chatted with you, and also in the last few years, is that Hope & Co is really a creative house for us now. It
encompasses all of our businesses.
Yes.
We've now got, we're really lucky with this. This is a former garage, former radiator repair. It was absolutely, I cannot tell you how disgusting it was as a space, covered in layers of grime and grease. It just leached out of the concrete floors. Yeah. But essentially, we're quite lucky. We've got a number of different spaces. It's not a big open shed. And so we've now configured it best for all of our pursuits. Georgie and Horvath have their own office where they can work on their video content and their business. The Creatives Toolkit, which you'll hear more about on this platform as well, because it is Hope & Co, the creative house. So we're going to, we've got another Instagram account called Australian Country House, where Georgie takes the photographs and I style, and we do brand shoots and all sorts of things. So everything we do is going to be in on this channel, so you can either pick up the areas that you love and want to watch and just not watch some of them, or you might be interested in our whole creative house as a whole. So we're kind of excited.
Yeah, we're very excited, and I think the thing that we really, there are a couple of things that we really want to emphasize at the moment, and that is that there's one thing we've heard, which I think we'll actually talk about in the first proper exchange, sit down chat, and that is that handmade is the new luxury. So that's the first. There's actually
handmade.
There's never been a better
made.
time. There has never been, incidentally, there has never been a better time to be a creative person and to make something with your hands. So we're all about celebrating that. That's number one. And number two is that ultimately, in a changing world, creativity is your superpower. It's our superpower. And if you're a creative person, we are very rarely one thing. And I think that's probably been the most important discovery or thing that we've really leaned into in the past few years, is the fact that we are multi-creatives. We've always been multi-creatives, and that really is the direction of the channel going forward. So you're going to see ceramics, you're going to see painting, you're going to see product photography and BTS and brand shoots. You might even see snippets of us on the road and how that all intertwines creatively. So I know that we've definitely got a whole lot of archive footage of visiting some incredible galleries and spaces as well. So there are all sorts of things that we want to share with you, but we also just want to pre-frame you for the fact that this channel
it'll be varied.
Yeah, it'll be varied.
It'll be varied.
Yeah.
And I think that the exciting thing about that is that it's not all going to be the same thing every time you hop on. But also, we want to feel like you're having a coffee with us. So send us a message and just in the comments below, and just say give us a question for next time. So next week we've got a couple of questions, and we'll give you a bit of a shout out. Not say exactly where you're from, but obviously just give you a bit of a shout out and say maybe it's Michelle from Florida or whatever. If there's a Michelle from Florida, I'm talking to you. And just give us a question and just say it might be, how long does it take to make a pot, or how do you juggle your creative life with your family, whatever it might be. Just pop it in the comments below, and we'll get back to you next week as though we're having a chat with you over coffee.
So thank you so much for watching this first video back. If you have not subscribed to the channel, if you're watching this, if you're a lurker or if you're new to the channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. We would love to share more content with you. Make sure that you also turn on that notification bell so you are able to receive updates from the channel directly to your inbox. We promise we won't make you wait 4 years.
No, we won't. No, we won't. We're actually back on deck. Promise you, we're back on deck.
Pinky swear.
Hope & Co back.
Okay.